When I give
this AI
some input text,
everything will escalate completely.
let's use this to predict Deltarune Chapter 3's version of the Snowgrave route. This is the Dreamer family we started with, and this is what the AI turned it into. Susie's adopted sister Amethyst has some severe brain damage, but the two need to save Kris, who is trapped inside of the dark fountain. Let's see how it goes. Susie slowly opened the door to Amethyst's padded cell, who was still trying to get used to her prosthetic arms, which felt like they belonged to somebody else. Susie had trouble talking to her sister, since Amethyst's brain damage seemed to have gotten worse as time moved on, but she couldn't keep their mother's death a secret from Amethyst forever. Susie walked inside and sat down in the nearest chair. Amethyst watched her, waiting for her mother to come back. "I'm sorry, Amethyst," Susie said. Amethyst crossed her arms and turned her back on her sister. "What for?" Susie laughed. "Sorry?" she repeated. "What, for this?" Susie mimicked, swinging her arms back and forth. Is she mocking Amethyst for losing her arms? That's really mean, even for Susie's standards. "This, all of this." Amethyst stood up and walked out of the room. "Go away. I don't want to talk to you right now." "That's alright, Amethyst," Susie said. "I think we both need some time apart." Amethyst shut the door, then sat down on the hardwood floor. She started shaking. "Is this the part where I start thinking that maybe I was just a mean sister?" Susie asked herself. Well, she was really mean just now. Still no answer. Susie took a deep breath. "I know what we both need," she said. "We need a fresh start, like we used to. Our mother always promised to look after us. I think this would be the perfect place." She picked Amethyst up and carried her to the front door. Susie carried her sister Amethyst out of the psychiatric ward to go for a walk. She wanted to reconcile with her after the drama that caused Amethyst to lose her arms and that twisted her poor mind. Still, Susie couldn't bring herself to tell her sister that their mother had died. It was tough. But if they didn't get over the past, they wouldn't be able to save Kris. They needed each other. It was the first time in years they'd been in the same place. Amethyst knew she was right. No matter what Susie thought, she was still the woman who'd murdered their mom and took everything from her. What the heck, she thinks Susie killed Toriel. Not the kind of wholesome bonding I was hoping for. But Amethyst couldn't bear to see it. As much as she wanted to hate her, she loved her sister too much to let her hurt her again. She thought about her last conversation with her mother. Did she really believe she was good? Did she really believe she'd been doing what was best for Amethyst? Or was she just trying to stay alive? The real question was, could she forgive Susie? And would she forgive herself? The sisters sat down at a bench on the path near the pond. Amethyst stared into the water, reading the memories etched on the surface. How she'd felt after her mom died and her father had refused to accept her. When she was in the psych ward. Her body and mind numb with drugs. Fear, sadness, self-loathing, loneliness. An emptiness that wouldn't stop haunting her. Good lord, will the AI ever stop torturing Amethyst? It's like now that Toriel is dead, it can solely focus on Amethyst instead. Her desperate hope that Susie was alive. "It was a lot, huh?" Amethyst said, breaking the silence. "That's what she said, and I guess she's right. It was like we were in a trance. Every day we came out here, we tried to hold on to each other. She would always say I was the best person she ever had. She was trying to tell me how much she loved me." Is she talking about Susie in the third person? I'm a bit confused. "She was trying to tell you that she loved you too," Susie said, almost to herself. "But she couldn't. It's what happened that night that was so horrible. Not all that though. It was how much she loved you." Amethyst looked at her sister. It looks like Susie just went with it and talked about herself in the third person as well. Amethyst looked into her sister's eyes. "I want to believe you, but it's really tough since you've killed Mom." "Wait, what?" Susie almost fell off the bench. I didn't kill her. It was because of all those wounds. I brought you two to the hospital, don't you remember? Amethyst made an expression as if she had just exposed Susie. I knew it! Mom is dead! Why didn't you tell me? Susie was baffled. Did you just trick me? Amethyst nodded boastfully. I thought your brain was complete mush, Susie mumbled. Are your senses actually coming back? What? No, I still feel really fuzzy. That's because your mind is slowly being reassembled, Amethyst exclaimed happily. Like you did, when we all were young. Amethyst exclaimed at the memory. Yes, it'll be a memory from the past, so you'll be able to share that with me as well. Amethyst and Susie continued talking for a while. While Amethyst's speech was still somewhat incoherent, there were signs that her mind was getting a bit clearer. Susie tried her best to be patient, and eventually the sisters could talk relatively normally. One day, Susie wanted to find out whether Amethyst was ready to help look for Kris. She watched Amethyst typing some words on a whiteboard in her room. A little bit of a sad face was on the keyboard. Susie found it hard to contain her concern, seeing Amethyst like that. In her mind, she knew that Amethyst probably had no idea what was going on. She tried her best to calm herself down. She would wait a little longer before asking Amethyst, but that might not be enough. What does she mean by the crazy guy? A person who turns their friends against them? A person who sabotages others? A person who brings calamity upon people's homes? A person who causes death? A person who poisons food and drinks? A person who causes accidents? A person who leaves their peers to die in an accident? Oh no, she's losing her mind again, that's not good. But we need to hurry up and save Kris, he's been stuck in the dark fountain for weeks. Let's hope he hasn't starved to death yet. Susie was horrified by Amethyst's severe mental relapse. She was talking to herself, mimicking various deranged voices. There was no way to take her on any kind of journey right now. But time was running out. Susie needed to search for Kris soon. She decided that a few days later would be the last chance to take her sister with her. She went to Amethyst's room to check on her mental state one last time. The girl looked terrified. She was sitting in her bed with her eyes wide open, but she was calm and peaceful. Susie was elated and yet scared to death. A few more moments of peace for her and Amethyst, and she would be gone. As the last hope faded in Susie's eyes, Amethyst opened her eyes. She seemed much better. Her worry lines had vanished and her thoughts were clear again. She apologized for the mean things she had said, and started to explain why she had suddenly become violent. I didn't do it on purpose. It was that Dr. White. She blushed and whispered to Susie. Is every doctor awful in this story? I wanted to become a good doctor. And maybe I was too stubborn. I got stubborn. And all the characters want to become doctors, with specific focus by the AI. The two girls talked for a few more minutes before Amethyst stood up and rushed out of the room, not even trying to look for clothes. It's so strange, Susie said. Thought she sounded much calmer than when she had walked into the room. She was angry. Angry because she wanted to be a doctor. No, she's not mad at all. She looks much more human. How can we be sure that she's not going to go nuts again? Asked every conceivable person except for Susie. So I forced her name in as it's the only one that makes sense. Susie needed to test whether her sister Amethyst was really ready to leave the psychiatric ward. Every now and then she seemed to have a clear mind and talked like a normal person, but the relapses in between were horrifying. Still, Susie couldn't wait any longer. Either Amethyst goes with her today, or she would have to leave on her own. Susie stood still for a few moments, thinking about how she could check her sister's mental stability. At first, she thought of giving Amethyst some sedatives so she wouldn't remember that she had met Susie that day, but that would be very obvious. Instead, she grabbed the door handle of Amethyst's room, pulled it open and entered. She hadn't expected to find that her sister was already awake, and said she had a terrible nightmare last night. Susie suspected that she had seen her sister getting taken away in a bus in her dream, and had dreamed that she was taken away with her, but she couldn't be sure. Who the heck suspects which specific dreams another person has? I had a nightmare. I saw you being taken away with another kid. Of course, AI. Of course she has a fitting dream. Can you come back now, please? Amethyst asked. That was exactly what Susie had been wondering, and she nodded. Of course I can come back. She took Amethyst's hand and pulled her out of the room. At the entrance, she could see that the nurse was still lying on her bed, obviously medicated to the maximum. Did Susie seriously drug a nurse so she can run away with Amethyst? Susie took a moment to check the time and saw it was already 10 o'clock. The nurse was fast asleep, and she didn't know what to do, so she left her room and hurried down the hallway, with Amethyst dragging behind. Wait up! What are we doing, Susie? Why are we leaving right now? Are you sure about what you saw last night? Yes, I'm positive. There was another girl there. I don't know who she was, but she was bigger and older than me. She was wearing a green sweatshirt, and I think that it was special, because she had green veins in her arms. They looked really strange, and I saw some other weird stuff, like weird symbols on her wrists. When she took off her sweatshirt, I saw that she had glowing green hair. Okay, whatever. Susie let Amethyst babble about her strange dream while they exited the psychiatry. Once outside, the time had come. Susie had to test Amethyst's mental state right now, right here. Was she able to keep a clear mind, or would she immediately descend into madness again? There was only one way to find out. The trial. Trial, she announced with a smile. It's time for us to perform the trial. You mean that end of the world thing you told me about? Amethyst asked, her eyes widening. I thought you were taking that nonsense seriously. Well, Susie sighed. I thought I was too. So, I don't get it, Amethyst said, clearly confused. It's a 3-part trial, Susie explained. It's time for you to do everything I tell you to do, without question or hesitation. If you do, you get the best gift of all. Oh, she's conditioning Amethyst to obey her orders. That's actually smart. Is she planning on going to Foss immediately? Amethyst frowned, continuing to appear confused. What is that? The only real gift you'll ever get, Susie told her, smiling. I have something that might be useful to you. But first we need to have the trial. Ready? Ready. Then, let's go. Okay, let's take the opportunity and speed things up a bit. Susie pulled out the pocket-sized portal, which increased in size after being placed on the ground. Amethyst watched in awe. This is where our trial will take place, Susie remarked. They jumped through the portal together, and were immediately transported to the abandoned country of Foss. Susie held Amethyst's hand tightly. Remember, always do exactly what I say without question or hesitation, got it? Got it, responded Amethyst. Susie looked around. We need to find some Charlite technology. What does it look like? No idea. Let's go. They began running. Many people were scattered across the area. The ground was uneven and at times Amethyst tripped. They kept running until they found an abandoned farmhouse in the middle of the valley. They sprinted inside. They spent several hours going through the house, destroying all the Charlite technology they found along the way. No! That's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. They sprinted inside and Susie called out. Hey, you there! We're looking for some old technology and we're not from Foss. A distant voice responded back to Susie.
Hello, it's me, Mai.
She stepped out of the house and greeted Susie.
We're going to take you to this machine in the middle of this valley, so hurry up and get in the portal.
They followed Mai as she ran. Canon. Just so you know, this whole story is 100% canon, and Deltarune Chapter 3 will be exactly as the AI predicts. On the other side of the portal, it was apparent that Susie and Amethyst had entered the Fossese interior. Nice, the AI even made up a proper adjective. The group seemed to have once been slaves to the serpentine species, but had escaped to Foss decades ago. A few of them approached the two girls and greeted them. "Good to see you again, ladies," said one of them. Amethyst smiled. "I'm Amethyst," she said. "And I'm Susie," said Amethyst. I imagine her standing next to Susie and mimicking her in a stereotypical manner. "This is Amethyst's sister, Amethyst," said Susie, nodding at Amethyst. And I guess Susie's mocking her in some weird way. "We are taking you to the Starlight machine," said one of the other slaves. "Thanks," said Susie. "Let's go."
As you can see, this machine is still functioning. It needs to be activated for the device to work. It's been 20 years since it was activated, and I think this machine's been missing the last couple of cycles.
"Oh," said Susie. "That must have been why there's no Starlight technology in the city." The group continued to advance, and soon reached an ancient-looking machine. The three entered and Susie started a portal. Suddenly, a golden spiral tube appeared.
This is our machine, also called the Blue Gateway,
she said. Amethyst looked at the machine in awe. It was called the Blue Gateway, and was the secret to defeat the monsters that were trying to take over the cosmos. Susie smiled. Finally. I'm in the mood to turn some monsters into mincemeat. But where are they? Amethyst wondered. Mai responded with a grin.
I've got a plan,
she said.
We just need to go through this portal to the Blue Gateway.
But why? Asked Amethyst.
So that I can use it to turn those monsters into mush,
said Mai. How? Asked Amethyst.
I'm gonna need some help,
said Mai. On which plan are you referring? Asked Amethyst.
The plan that involves smashing your foot into my face,
Mai replied. That sounds like an absolutely watertight plan. You think I'm joking, aren't you? Susie said in an annoyed tone.
Of course, fighting those monsters is basically suicide,
Mai answered. Susie flexed her muscles. Amethyst and I will use this Blue Gateway machine to get rid of the monsters, whether you think we have a chance or not. You know where they are, so spit it out already. Amethyst looked concerned but didn't say anything. Mai spoke.
You two have no idea, but yes, I know where the monsters are. They are in the Dark Ages. They may be nowhere else, but they are there. It's a place where imagination is not the limit. In this place, the monsters of the past have an unlimited power, and the monsters of the present have no limit in power.
Which are two completely different things.
They exist in every direction. Many of them are descended from the monsters from the darkest ages. To date, we have only fought them here. Those monsters have now won, but let me tell you, I am a bad leader. I'm afraid that they will finally win.
Is she joking? No, she really does mean it, so do I, said Amethyst. Mai then explained to the two.
There is a way to fight them, but it's a dangerous way. It will leave us powerless, and I'm not talking about fighting them in a game here. I'm talking about battling them in real life. Only those who have the power to defeat them truly win.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
This power is the combination of two things. One is in your head, and the other is in your body. It is up to you to control it, to make use of the combination.
Man, she's giving us the ultimate advice for success. Use your head and your body. The idea would have never crossed my mind.
It is the power to change from one world to another. There is no backing down when this power is used. When the portal opens, you will be helpless in the best of cases, but in the worst case, you will be annihilated. But the power in you is the strength to use the power in you.
Words of ultimate wisdom.
It is the power to fight the monsters, to defeat them. And if you use it right, you might even become the Beast Emperor.
That sounds epic though. And the AI is bringing up portals again. Why does it keep bringing up portals and doctors? Susie noticed a portal opening in the corner. Is that the one? She asked. Mai was shocked.
Yes, but...
Okay, bye, Susie mumbled. She took Amethyst and the machine and jumped through the portal. Ah! Amethyst screamed. I wasn't ready. Why did you do that? That woman was getting on my nerves. She just wouldn't shut up. They ended up in a dark place. Black clouds filled the sky, and sinister creatures lurked in the shadows. The big fight was about to begin. This was it. the fight that would determine the fate of the cosmos. Black clouds darkened the sky. Susie flexed her muscles again and was more than ready to fight. Amethyst, however, was scared. Are you sure we can win, Susie? She whispered. Of course we will, with our secret weapon. Susie pointed at the blue gateway machine. This thing will help us defeat all of those monsters. Many monsters were crawling and stomping out of the shadows. The fight of Susie and Amethyst against the monsters was about to start. Susie used all of her strength to slash through the monsters, creating holes in the ground to lure the monsters inside them. These openings could be used by Amethyst to climb on the monsters and shoot fireballs to blow them away. Once all of the monsters inside the holes were destroyed, they could jump out and attack the monsters on the ground. Black clouds now filled the sky. The clouds, made up of monsters, destroyed the entire atmosphere of the planet, causing the ground to freeze over. Whew, really high stakes here. The clouds soon came to a halt. With their black umbrella shields protecting them, the two girls walked towards the monster-infested circle. Just like my father, Susie said, happy with the fact that they were finally able to fight the monsters. Had she been fighting with her father before or something? After the monsters were defeated, the girls were facing yet another monster that seemed to be at the center of the storm. Here we go! Flame-spreading spell! Susie roared and launched another fire spell at the monster. However, this time the fire barely even left the flame. All of a sudden, the monster dropped to the ground and got sucked into a black vortex. We win! She screamed in excitement, running towards Amethyst and hugging her. That was quicker than expected. What did the machine even do? Did it give them the umbrellas and magic or something? As the two friends hugged, the entire world turned into white light. A huge ring appeared in the middle of the air, formed by the light. Then the black storm was gone and the circle was gone. There was only the two girls left in the clearing. A shimmering light glowed in the distance. Come here, you two, the light said. We are together now. That's surprisingly convenient, but I'll use it. Is that... Susie's eye widened. No way, it can't be that easy. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The dark fountain was right in front of her. The goal, the destination. She had finally found it. Susie started running towards the fountain. Amethyst had trouble catching up to her. Not so fast. You again, Susie grumbled. Did you miss me? The evil version of Kris said. He looked at Amethyst and smiled. How cute. You got new arms. Didn't you like the old ones? I'll rip off your head, Susie shouted. You want to fight again? You know how last time ended, Susie. Kris responded, sticking his tongue out. That's Beast Empress Susie for you. She pointed her axe at Kris. The final battle. Susie and Amethyst versus evil Kris. This was going to be brutal. Kris's sword had just met Susie's axe in one massive swing. Kris was getting madder and madder as the fight went on. You don't think you can keep this up, do you? Amethyst taunted. This is my fight now. I told you that last time. You made a deal with the devil, Amethyst, Kris shouted. I made the deal with the sword, you idiot. I'm not an idiot. I am the spirit sword, Amethyst screamed. She like 5 from Skyward Sword. You're no more a sword than the other evil dictators are. I'll show you why I am a sword. Kris charged at Amethyst with the sword. Amethyst jumped aside. It's time to show you what that thing can do. Kris' sword slashed down. Amethyst was forced to do a double jump. She saw an opening in the air and jumped up and then back down to dodge the sword. Amethyst! Kris cried. He was thrown off balance and fell back. Amethyst slowly took a step back. The sword had cut off the tip of Kris's finger. Wow, Amethyst is serious business. Hey, what's going on? I found my sword. Now it's my turn. Amethyst dove forward and stabbed Kris. Her blade ripped open his chest. As he fell to the ground, a final glow from the tip of his fingers shot out and left a small red mark on Amethyst's face.
Maybe you can still learn a thing or two, Amethyst.
Get out of here, you sick psycho! I don't need your help anymore. Plus, I'm doing pretty good without it. Anyways, time to end this. Amethyst jumped up and kicked Kris off the cliff. Kris fell over the edge and dropped off the edge of the earth. As she watched him fall, Amethyst felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. Wow, this was the complete opposite of part 6. She annihilated Kris.
That was incredible, Amethyst,
Susie exclaimed. Amethyst just smiled. She wasn't even tired.
Now let's free Kris.
Susie touched the dark fountain with her hand to seal it. It was vaporized into many tiny light particles, leaving behind Kris, who had been trapped inside.
Kris!
Susie ran towards him and hugged him. Really, really hard. Susie, you saved me. Kris couldn't really comprehend what was going on. Susie showed the most genuine smile.
It wasn't just me. Amethyst was a big help too.
Nice to meet you, Kris. Amethyst reached out to Kris with her hand. I know this sounds a bit weird, but we are both your adopted sisters now. I hope we'll get along well. Kris was confused. Was this really happening? Really? Kris managed to say.
Yes, really. From now on you'll be Amethyst's friend and I'll be your adopted sister, okay?
Okay. Kris really hoped he wouldn't make a fool out of himself in front of Amethyst. Okay, now you're both officially adopted sisters of mine. Amethyst put a pink rose on Kris's head. Kris was really confused. Was he hallucinating? No, it was still solid. That's when he felt something warm on his head. Kris covered his head with his hands. It was not a rose, but Amethyst's hand. I'm not hallucinating, Kris sighed. He tried to put the hand away, but Amethyst started smiling. No, I won't let you. Okay, before things get out of hand here, let's wrap this up. Suddenly, Kris and Susie woke up. They found themselves back in Toriel's living room, laying on the couch. The sun was already rising and the TV had been running the entire time. Space pirate adventures, a pig farm documentary, alien movies, horror movies, family dramas, the whole night program. Susie looked at Kris in disbelief.
Was none of this real? It can't be.
She shook her head.
It all felt so real.
Her eyes started getting wet.
Amethyst felt so real.
But it was probably for the better. The nightmares she had experienced were more than enough stress for now. Kris took the remote to turn off the TV, so it wouldn't disturb Toriel, who was fast asleep. The end. Thank you so much for watching this madness. I certainly had a lot of fun. I liked that Toriel was our main protagonist this time. Well, as long as she was alive. And I liked the new characters the AI introduced. The Amigo and Storm had potential, though they ended up on the chopping board rather quickly. Amethyst, however, ended up being quite the fleshed out character. I didn't think much of her at first, but she really proved her importance in the end. So that's all I have to say about this story. Let me know what your favorite part was. And I'm kinda relieved that I don't have to watch Toriel and Susie in quick succession anymore. That hurts so much. And now you're probably wondering what will come next. I have one Undertale related video planned that doesn't use an AI for once, but I already have new ideas for what to use Infogit for next. I don't want to spoil too much, but I can tell you that we'll switch back to Undertale for that. I hope to see you there. Bye.